So, good evening. This is Keith at ZS6 Hotel India. We are starting the Power Hour Tech Talk this evening. I just would like to introduce our guest speaker, Quentin, Kilo 7 Delta Romeo Quebec, and he will be taking us through everything about Seattle Field Day. What do they do during the Seattle Field Day? And that we can compare and we can steal ideas from Quentin in terms of what we can do with our own local field day. So just to give you a little bio, and this is from Quentin's qrz.com page, so you're welcome to go and check it out. His call sign is Kilo 7 Delta Romeo Quebec. Quentin says he primarily operates CW either from home or QRP portable. And Quentin, just out of interest, we had our QRP contest. We have them 4 times a year, and we had it a few weeks ago. Quentin is a doctor and is interested in physics and atmospheric phenomena that make the hobby possible. And he has a particular interest in antenna theory. He's also a lead instructor for the Long Island CW Club. On his website, he shows a fractal antenna that he's designed and optimized for space. And that resonates with what we're trying to do with the Baker balloon, the weather balloons that we launch. And he's done some 1,000 mile per watt SOTA activation. So Quentin, a lot of people on the call this evening are also very keen on SOTA. So that would be something to chat about as well. And he's a member of the Puget Sound Repeater Group and the lead instructor at the Long Island CW Club, as I've mentioned, a creator of the Repeater Roundabout, a repeater-based contest that operated last year. I think it might be a little bit out of date, but I'm not sure. You can let us know about that. A member of the Cascadia Radio Group and a member of the Radio Club of Tacoma. And in his professional day-to-day career, he is a scientist working in agriculture to reduce the impact of fertilizers on the environment and climate. And his PhD is in computer science from the University of Warwick. So let me not go into too much further detail. I'd like to now hand over to Quentin to take us through what happens in Seattle during the Seattle Field Day. Just as a reminder, this is Keith, ZS6HI, broadcasting out on the Repeater Network, and we will be doing the Power Hour Tech Talk for the next hour. Quentin, over to you.
Thank you very much, Keith, for the very grand intro. And thank you all for joining me and being willing to listen to me natter on for a little while here. Field Day is an event I enjoyed a lot. It was actually the first time I met a good number of hams in person when I was just a wee baby ham. And it made a real impact on me, being able to see a lot of it done in the real world and discover a lot. So I really kind of attached to Field Day, and I tried to contribute as much as I can. And so the Seattle Field Day is an event that we put on with a number of different groups. So I'll kind of walk you through it. I would love participation anytime, so if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to chime in. I have only a few slides with some text, and most of the rest is pictures that I'll talk you through. So anything you see in them that's interesting, please do chime in. So the first thing really I want to say is congrats to the Sandton Amateur Radio Club on your 3rd Field Day win in a row, I believe, which is just truly exceptional. And maybe this talk should be the other way around, and we should be stealing your ideas. Very impressive work. So a little bit about me. I'm reasonably new to the radio world. I got my license in 2018. I started learning CW during the pandemic and became an instructor with the LICW in 2022. The LICW is a curious entity. They're actually on the other side of the country to me, and they started as a bunch of operators who wanted more CW ops for Field Day. And for whatever reason, it really took off. And so what started as 2 guys in New York, we now have over 6,000 members all over the world. We teach 160 some classes every week on Zoom. And we're operating in, I think, 60 different countries or so. It's a really good crowd, really good folk to be around and to learn from. And so I'm very proud to have learned a lot of my CW there and now teaching there as well. A little bit about me. I'm born in France, raised a little bit all over the world. I love science and food, especially if they're together. That generally makes me very happy. So a little bit of background about Field Day in the US. I'm not entirely sure how different it is to in South Africa, but kind of a few words here. First of all, the Seattle area is very radioactive. There are several million people in the metropolitan area, and there are dozens of clubs with differing levels of activity. We partnered up. There are 4 clubs that participate in our field day, and they each bring a bit of a different flavor, but generally we come together to organize the event. That the ARRL, the American Radio Relay League, likes to call ham radio's open house. They used to go out of their way to say it is not a contest. And I think that was to kind of welcome people from everywhere, especially the newer hams who may not want to do something quite so intense. I think we all know it is a contest in large part, but also there's a lot around it, and certainly field day around here is generally about demonstrating portable operations. It's about education. It's about building community and bringing people in. We run what's called a 2 alpha event, which means we have 2 HF transmitters, and the alpha means we are a club operating portable. Portable means, of course, no mains electricity. 2A actually means you get 4 transmitters, and that's because you get 2 HF transmitters for your main contesting station. You get a VHF UHF station for free, and then you get what's called a GOTA station, a get on the air station, which is to operate under a different call sign. And the idea there is that it's a station only to be used by unlicensed or very recently licensed people. So we often have kind of children come along and make some contacts. Last year we had a big event with the Boy Scouts where they had just gotten their radio licenses and they ran on the GOTA station for hours on end. It's a lot of fun. There's a club in our area that's very, very contest focused. They run something like an 11 alpha, which is mind-boggling in its complexity. We tend to focus more on the convivial, the education, the friendliness, the community outreach. The event runs for 24 hours. We start setting up on Friday evening, and we tear down Sunday, 11 a.m. noonish. And we have 27 hours in which to operate, 24 hours in which to operate in between. Everyone happy so far? Okay. So the site of operations we run at the North Seattle College. They give us one of their fields. And so this is a photo from from 2 years back now. This part of the field, you can see they had kindly mowed for us. The rest was a little bit of a swamp, and so we didn't spend too much time there. But on this side, we had set up our antenna farm, and I'll go into detail on that later. And we had our operating stations off the field. Here's one of our stations. Here's a second one. We had the VHF and the Get on the Air station over here to the right. People were allowed to camp at night if they wanted. Some brought RVs, and in general, it's a really good site for this. Last year, we were able to use the whole field, and so the antenna farm was deployed kind of diagonally at greater length across the whole system, and all of our stations were on the fields. This is what that looks like. Here you can see the 3 stations with operators on them. We typically have 2 ops per station, one of them running and one of them logging. It's a nice setup with these little kind of pop-ups. Generally, you get enough shade where it's not too hot. It has been really good for us in that it hasn't rained in the last several years, so that's been really good in Seattle. We just set up on these folding tables. We distribute power, and I'll come to that in a moment. And we have a wireless network this year that serves us very well. Different view of the field. You can start to see a little more about the setup here. I'll zoom in on this in a moment. This is our power tent. We had Starlink this year. You can see a vertical for 2 meter here. This was one of our nets, and so we run the Puget Sound Repeater Group runs nets 9 a.m., noon, and 9 p.m. every single day of the year. And so 3 nets a day. By the way, we're on Echolink, we're on All-Star. You're very, very welcome to join us. We love having folk from a little further out. It's always a lot of fun. And over here, you can see some of our 2 meter, 70 centimeter setup. And this is a vertical for 6 meters as well. This is one of my favorite photos. This is the antenna farm from the later in the evening. This is my tent over here, and can start to see a little bit about how the antennas are set up. We have these tall masts. They're about 28 to 32 feet, depending on how many sections we put up. They're guide in the middle and at the top, and we string between them various flavors of dipole. This year here, this was a fan dipole. You can just about see the several fan elements here. Our primary antennas are linked dipoles that we built, that the club built for the event specifically, and they cover 80 meters through 6. The event at night is really fun. Typically, we try to keep the stations operating well, and that does mean waking up at 3 in the morning for your shift sometimes. But it's very convivial, and it's a lot of fun. It's very enjoyable. So a little bit on the operating itself. The radios we use typically are Elecraft. This is a K3 with the pan adapter. We have here a 40-meter bandpass filter. We try to keep filters in to reduce interference. We have monitors deployed for frequency and waterfall generally. And then we use a laptop on the side for logging. This is Doug. He's the president of the Puget Sound Repeater Group. I'm not sure who this gentleman is. He's operating SSB. He's got a push-to-talk button over here. And we really try to welcome newer ops to any of these stations. And so when someone comes along and they want to play and they're really not sure what to do, the more experienced staff will move over to the logging station and start kind of helping and walking them through. Yes, go ahead.
Thanks, Quentin. Do you have one person on the radio and one person capturing the log? Is that what I'm seeing in this image?
Yes. Generally, each station has 2 people, one person typically operating, making contacts, and the other person logging, noting any details.
Right. Okay. That's slightly different to how we've been operating right now. And this is the first time we've ever used bandpass filters in the last contest. So I think we eventually needed to do something because obviously of the interference on the radio. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, Quentin.
No. Please interrupt as much as you like. We were a little concerned with the bandpass filters because there was not necessarily a representative of our field day at each station at all times. And if somebody wants to switch bands, they're going to fry that filter. And so we always tried to deploy them only last minute if we saw interference on specific bands. Hopefully you didn't have a similar experience, Keith.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think that's what we had to do this last time. We had, I think, 3 stations with Brandon, you can let me know, but 3 stations with bandpass filters, and they were dedicated to a particular band. They were not allowed to change off that band.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'll come to our antennas in a moment, but we tend to be very flexible on the band use. So we, of course, coordinate with nearby stations. But if you're on 15 and you suddenly want to try 20 and nobody's on 20, it's a case of dropping the antenna, moving a couple pins and putting it back up. Um, it's done in less than 5 minutes. And so we do encourage people to switch bands if the band they're on is not working out. And so that meant we had to be especially careful with the bandpass filters.
Right.
Yeah, this is a very typical setup. It's worked well. Our power out, and I'll show the power distribution in a moment, was the standard 110 volts that the US use. And so each station had a fairly standard radio benchtop power supply.
Okay, so Quentin, sorry to interrupt again. You're operating from mains power then, or you're operating on 110 volts through the power supply into the radio?
We are operating on, the radios are on the standard 12, 13.8 volts. They receive 110 volts into the power supply, which down converts that. The power comes from historically generators, but this year we ran full solar, and I'll come to that in a moment. But instead of distributing 12 volts out, we were distributing 110, primarily so that we can plug in things like the laptop and the monitor as well.
Right, right, understood.
So this is another one of the stations. This is me operating CW with a friend logging here. This might be the same station. This is the Elecraft K3 with the pen adapter. This young man wanted to play as well, and he got a chance to make a couple contacts on the get on the air station. If you haven't heard that, it's a lot of fun because sometimes you hear just a very young voice on the other end shouting at you their station designator and their call sign, and it's great to see. So this person, this young child and his dad were kind of watching and listening to the CW as we were making some contacts.
Awesome.
This is the same station at night. Works very well, and generally at night there are fewer ops wanting to play, of course, and so you can come in and experiment a little bit. We had people spin up digital modes on some of these, and it's just a lot of fun. It can get chilly and it can get lonely if you don't bully someone into helping you. We try to do satellite contacts as well. The US Field Day has a section for bonus points, and you get 50 bonus points if you make a satellite contact. So this is me in my hoodie and my puffy coat because it was very cold at night. This is Eric on the right, and we're both using the Arrow backpack antenna for 2 meters and 70 centimeters. Clearly, we weren't aligned on what we were doing because we're pointing in very different directions, but we did eventually manage to make a couple of satellite contacts, and we got those bonus points. Does South Africa have bonus points, or do you just count contacts more or less?
We do have some multipliers, but at the moment we're running HF. Our field day is HF only. So we've got no VHF, UHF, or satellite work going on during the field day, unless we are just having fun with it. So it doesn't count towards the scoring of the field day.
Gotcha. I think on our side, any voice contacts is worth 1 point. Any digital or CW is worth 2 points. And then there are a whole series of bonus points you can get. If you have presence in the media, you can get 100 bonus points. If you send emergency messages via WinLink, you can get 10 points for the first 10 messages. A satellite contact, the first one is worth 50 points. And so we try to cover a lot of these bases, and I'll kind of walk through some more of those in a moment. The satellite can feel really fun during the earlier part of field day when you're like, oh, okay, I'll try it out. Hopefully I'll make a contact. Oh, I can hear the ISS, but no one's getting back to me. And then as the event goes on and you're feeling pressure for those bonus points, you have to start waking up at night for the good passes and try to knock one out. We were successful here, thankfully.
They don't come at your, they come at their own time.
Yes, yes. What I've got here is a table of different satellites that we thought were interesting and could have reasonable passes on. And so each row is a pass. So this satellite at this time, acquisition of signal in the south, it's at peak at 4:01 a.m. In the west, and then it sunsets over here in the northwest. Um, these are automatically generated by a Python script I wrote to ping, I think it's the N2YK or NY2K API. And so we're able to, a few days before field day, I'll ping the API and automatically generate this table so that when we're at the event, we can just pull out our phones, look through the list and say, okay, this one will be a good pass. Here's the time so we can plan for it.
That's awesome.
It's good fun. The antenna is my favorite part. So you've seen these masts, they call them mil spec, military spec. I think some of them were used by military at some point, but essentially they're aluminum masts. Some of them are carbon fiber, but most are aluminum. They come in sections that are, I want to say 120, 130 centimeters long, and you can pile them kind of as high as you like. We're aiming for 28, 32 feet. Again, they're guyed twice, and I'll show you kind of what goes on top of them. This is Rich setting up the harness to mount the antennas up and down. So there are a lot of lines you can see here, but this one, and this one are top guy lines. These three are bottom guy lines. And so what you see coming down the mast here, ending here, is a pulley system, kind of just winding rope. To get these antennas, to get these masts up, it's generally 8 people for a mast. You've got 2 people lifting, 2 people at the basin in the middle, 1 person on each guy, and 1 spotter. Sometimes we have people at 90 degrees as well to help us tension in the right place so that the mast is as vertical as possible. We nail them into the ground with large rebar, essentially. We had a great story about this 2 years back, the first time we used rebar for this. We put out 28 of these rebar stakes, and when we came back out of the field, we only had 27. And so we were very concerned that the college was going to mow the lawn at some point and we would destroy their tractor. We spent hours looking for that thing, and we never found it. So we're assuming at this point that it got just picked up by someone and thrown into a different pile. But that was a little concerning.
I can imagine they wouldn't be happy if they destroyed their tractor.
No. Okay, so on top of these masts, there's this little gooseneck PVC pipe attached to with a pulley on the end. And so what you can see is it kind of puts down some rope, and the rope is attached to the balun on the antenna. And so this is the middle of the antenna. So the balun here, on each other side, at the next mast would be a 2-headed pulley, one for this leg of the dipole and one for the leg of the dipole for the next antenna. And so when you wanted to change the frequency on the antenna, you would just release these 3, bring the antenna down, handle the clips on the ground, and pull it back up. And it really is a case of, even with 1 person, you can turn this around in 5 minutes. It's a really good, flexible system we found.
Right.
The antennas we built are, I want to say 18 gauge wire with, and they're zip tied to paracord just to keep them at a reasonable tension. What you can see here is one of the clips. I'm sorry, it's very small. This is an Anderson power pole connector, and there's a little tag on it that tells you what frequency it is. So if you were to unhook this one would say 6 meters. And so between here and the next clip here, you would have a half wave dipole for 6 meters. And of course, as you connect more sections, your frequency goes down. and you can go up to 80 meters if everything is connected all the way to the end. Is that kind of clear for everyone?
Here to myself, Quentin. I don't know if anybody else would like to ask a question or make a comment.
Okay, perfect.
I was very interested in obviously having a linked dipole because it is quite high, but you've got a good system for changing the links.
We considered all sorts of things. The obvious one being that, a trapped dipole would make sense. We found that tuning the traps it's a real pain, and sometimes you do lose efficiency through them. We thought about some end-fed systems and some non-resonant systems. The Elecraft tuners are just incredible, and they will tune a wet noodle. But of course, resonance is best for radiating efficiency. We're pretty happy with this system. I think the link dipoles are working very well for us. On the right here, you've got the bottom of the mast. We have just a carabiner here keeping the bottom of the loop. And so if you want to take out your antenna, you take it out of the carabiner, you winch it down, you make your changes, and you winch it back up. Real simple, real easy solution that works very well. This is the setting up of one of the antennas. So you can see we've got people working on the tensioning. We've got someone always standing at the base to make sure it's not going to topple. And then off to the side somewhere, you've got people saying, oh, it's a little to the left on my side. You should pull this way. And it works pretty well. It is the slowest part of the setup by a long shot. And so we typically arrive on Friday around noon, and we have everything set up by 5 or 6 p.m. in terms of the antenna farm.
Right.
A very simple solution to hang our ballons. We have a, a couple of knots. These ballons we built from, I believe, a Dutch company called HF Kits, and they sell essentially a kit that you put together. All of the hardware is included. They work well. And then it's just standard coax down from there. On the VHF UHF side, we do have a couple of beams. This is Allen on the left with our 6-meter beam, 5-element there. We have an 11-element 2-meter beam, which we also deploy horizontally for SSB work. And then below that is a much smaller beam for 70 centimeters. For FM work, we have these verticals. They obviously don't have the gain of the beams, but we do manage to work some FM locally as well, which counts as contacts for us. So that works okay. If there was an easy way to change the polarity of the beams, that would be really good. But these do not come on a winch and pulley, and so once they're up, we don't touch them. We do have a very sophisticated method for pointing the beam. There's a rope attached on one end, and you just drag the rope around to where you want it.
Makes a lot of sense.
Power. 2 years ago and before, we were running on generators. We typically had one diesel generator with a second on standby. It worked, it smelled, it was loud, and this particular generator we were using occasionally turned itself off from an overly sensitive CO sensor. And so this year we opted for full solar. And so this is our solar panel array, as it were. Panels are often contributed by individuals who just have them. Some of them are portable setups, as you can see with this folding one. Some of them are much more serious panels. And so everything comes together in a large MPPT box full of charge controllers. We have these 3 charge controllers at the back that were donated by or loaned to us by our one sponsor. We reached out to a local solar company, and they said they'd be happy to loan us some of these charge controllers. This whole box was built by one of our members specifically for field day, and it's not elegant, but it works really well. These, go ahead.
So, Quentin, just out of interest, you powering everything from a central unit then? Is
Correct.
that part of the rules that you need, or because I know that on our field day, we might have multiple different MPTT controllers with their own panels powering a single station. So we don't do it feed from central. Is that a particular rule, or is that just a chosen way of doing it?
It was a chosen way of doing it, I think. It's certainly not a rule. I believe we opted for having one central hub here because the different panels all acted a little differently, and we thought it would be easier to have it just all in one place. I'm
Okay.
definitely not an expert on the solar power distribution, I'm afraid. But I don't think there was a particularly strong reason to do it this way.
Right. Okay, just asking out of interest.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Everything went into these large lead acid batteries. And then from there, we distributed power out using essentially extension cords at the full 110 volts. We had a couple of good gizmos attached to the solar, so we could tell how much power we had, what the charge was looking like, how much voltage, how much current drain we were looking at. And we were generally able to run all of our stations at 100 watts at all times. The duty cycle is definitely not 100%, but we were able to, with this amount of kind of power harvesting capability, do well all field day with no issues, including the laptops, the monitors. We had a portable cooler and all sorts of things like that we could tap into.
Wow.
In fact, we had excess power, and the solar tent decided to party it up at night a little bit.
Very nice.
What you can see here is also our wireless router. I think we were putting out 5G for our logging computers only, and that was not a widely accessible network to anyone who was on site. And so here's a view of the whole thing. It's a little haphazard, but it worked really well. We have a big chunky inverter over here, and it did a great job, I think. This was our first time running full solar with no backup, and we were very pleased.
You just hope it doesn't rain then, Quentin, or get overcast too much.
Yeah. So the rule for operating off the mains power, to have a full battery designation on your station, all of the power you bring in has to have been charged not on mains. And so people at home before field day would charge these batteries using solar power, so that we started with a full block, but that power was quote unquote natural.
That's interesting. Okay.
Okay, a little bit on our education outreach and MCOM. We had an education tent. We had a fun program of talks. This is Chloe talking about using the ISS repeater. Generally, the talks are all kind of member contributed. They're good fun. They aim to strike a balance between technical and broad audience understanding. And we have this just big tent pavilion for the educational talks only. This is Tim. He's the director of Seattle's ACS. That's the Auxiliary Communication Service. So that's the arm of the emergency operations wing of Seattle City that relies on amateur radio. And so he's also a great participant in our field day. And so this is Tim giving a talk on ACS, joining, what they do, how do they activate in response to certain issues. And we had representatives from the ACS kind of all the time. One of the things they had deployed that was fun was this AREND, which is a Seattle-only, I believe. It's an internet network over ham WAN, and so it uses microwaves and microwave dishes and direct line of sight to offer 5G networks all over the city over amateur radio frequencies. It's not something you want to watch Netflix over, but very good to have in case of an emergency when internet is hard to come by.
Wow. That will be good.
This is a table from our website of our talks. Beep Boop 101 was a talk about digital modes. But you can see kind of the flavor of the talks we're looking to provide. It's interesting. We had a few more talks the year before. We had a talk on CW, a talk on contesting. It really does depend on who's around to contribute a talk. But this kind of scheduling worked very well, and we had people drop in and listen in, and that was great. This is our Get on the Air station. So Alan here is logging and helping this young man who does not have a license make some contacts. So in front of him, you can't see, we have a script that'll say, okay, call CQ field day, CQ field day. This is Whiskey 7 Alpha Whiskey, Whiskey 7 Alpha Whiskey, CQ field day. And then someone gets back to you, here's how you respond. Oh, you missed their section, ask them again. A very simple kind of script. Here we're operating 15 meters SSB, and Alan is kind of walking through scenarios here. So this is a great community program, I think. I'm really happy we had it, and it works very well. Again, the points here count towards a different call sign, so we're not pressed to man it all the time. But we love seeing people who either don't know anything about radio or are new to it make their first HF contacts. Field Day 2018 was the first time I made an HF contact, and boy, listening to SSB and kind of playing with the knob, it sounds so different to FM repeater work. It was a great experience. This is Jacob. Jacob was 8, I think, in this photo, maybe 9. Here you can see our field day script just a little more clearly. It's hard to read. Next to our band plan. This photo was taken from within a trailer, so this was back in 2018 before COVID. We had exactly the same setup. We had a logger and someone to walk you through how to make these contacts. And here Jacob was able to make a number of contacts on the KX3, which worked well as a get on the air station.
It's brilliant.
I think I mentioned the bonus points. One of them was for media presence, and so we release a press release every year. Sometimes it's picked up, sometimes it's not. This was kind of what it looks like on our website. And we try to highlight, what is it that you get out of showing up at field day if you know nothing about radio. So that was a lot of fun. This is a reporter from the Seattle Times, and Ethan here is walking her through how you might send an emergency message over WinLink, just to kind of demonstrate the efficacy of that system. Behind this is the field entrance, and you can see the HF tent there, one of the first 3. Our website is very popular. It tries to simply explain everything that field day is about, as well as what we're doing in field day. So we have, our field day in detail, the location, the kind of setup we run, schedule, including the satellite passes. We have a call for speakers, how to participate. You've got some photos, a list of contact and social details, and here's our press kit for the media. This is our homepage with the logos of the 4 groups who participate in this event. And we've had a lot of traffic from it, and it seems to work very well. We've just updated it for 2025. Just this morning, it's starting to get moving for the next field day coming up late June. So a little bit about community. Rebecca here is running the noon net on the repeater. So she's got a 2-meter mobile station here. It goes into that 2-meter vertical I showed at the beginning. And we tend to, generally we run these nets 3 times a day. During field day, we run them here in the open, and anybody who's walking by can give a short report and chime in, and it's a lot of fun. Food, very important for me, very important for any event with a large group of people. We have a barbecue, mostly burgers and hot dogs one day, very American. And then we cater, I think we catered Vietnamese for dinner last year. A lot of fun. This is Jack on the grill. The 8-year-old you saw is Jack's son, and Jack is our burger master as well as vice president of the club. This is dinner. This is me cutting a piece of our field day cake with the smallest knife that Jack happened to have on him. It's, as you can tell, jokingly large, but it's become somewhat of a ritual now to cut the cake with this particular thing. I don't know why. Why not? And you can see we still have some kind of young people around as well. And dinner is a nice social kind of reprieve from all the stations. If you've ever operated CW for 4, 5, 6 hours straight, boy, when you stand up and walk away, you can still hear the beeping in your ears. It's it's intense. And so here's a view of the field 2 years back. We had some drones flying around with Seattle in the background. And so just wanted to show you a little bit of the layout of the land. And those are all the photos I have for you.
That's a lovely shot.
So any thoughts, any questions, anything I can answer for you?
Just from my side, Quentin, we'll open it up to everyone on the call now, as well as on the repeaters. But we, at this moment in time, we don't really have a go get on the air station. That's a lovely concept. And I don't think we are doing any media releases. I'm not sure if our SARL organization is doing media releases, but that's an interesting inclusion that I think we should probably do to advertise it. Most of us tend to do our field day in low noise areas. So we get out of the city and we go to low noise areas. And there's not as much public around as there would be in urban area. So that's just an observation from my side. I didn't know that you had to charge your batteries via non-mains power before field day. That was interesting. I think at the moment that's not a rule in our particular rules. So that's something that's interesting as well. Okay, let's open it to the floor. I'll open it to the floor of the people that are on Zoom first. So I see there's a couple of comments in the chat there, Quentin. Thanks for a great presentation and the effort. Anybody wish to open up a question or a comment, or just to let Quentin know how we do it in South Africa? No comments from anyone on Zoom?
Can I jump in, Keith?
Please,
Brandon,
Brandon,
yeah.
please go ahead.
Quentin, that was absolutely inspirational. And I think we sort of Sandton clubs, I think we feel we're progressing towards a little bit more organization, what have you, but that's off the charts. There's part of me, Keith, that thinks we should have maybe closed the session to our competitors. I'm a little bit worried about the IP leakage here, but I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed that presentation, Quentin. So yeah, for making time, and it's a work day for you. So I know it's evening for us, but you've blocked time out of your diary. Massively grateful for that input, and it's definitely going to be a presentation. I might have to watch that recording a second time. Back to you, Keith.
Thank you very much, Brendan. I particularly like the food, Brendan. We were catering for each one of ourselves, and I wasn't doing such a good job. So I liked what Quentin was saying about the food. Just keep that in mind. A big cake doesn't go down badly either. Okay, let's see. Anybody else got a question or want to make a comment? Please go ahead. Roy, please go ahead. Z6 X-ray in November. You've unmuted. Nothing coming through. Stuart from George. You've always got a comment.
Good evening, Quentin. This is ZR1 Whiskey Tango, George, Western Cape. That's the south of Africa. Yeah, no comment, but just taking note. I'm impressed with your antenna farm. I don't have such poles, but I've got to get something high. I just generally try and find a tree when I'm out in the field. And the other side sort of lower down with a short pole, like just 2 or 3 meters. But yeah, I think Brandon and company, the SOTA people, they do that sort of thing. So I need to move up a notch there. I'm also, I didn't think of solar panels because when I've gone, I've just made sure I've got enough charge in my batteries, but then we don't have like 24-hour QRP sessions. Maybe that's to come, Keith. I don't know what your comment is.
Our field days are 24 hours. In fact, I think
Oh,
our field
yes.
26 hours, but you're right. The QRP contests are only 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I've made lots of notes here for future for me. Yeah. Thanks, Quentin. Most interesting.
Thanks, Stuart. You know, the polls and everything else, the clubs that kind of work together tend to have, first of all, they don't charge dues, but the members tend to be very generous in donations. And so the tents and the poles, anything missing, we can buy outright and save for the events and for other club related events. They are an investment. They are. But they are, you know, they make quite a sight for anyone walking by, and they work very well.
Yeah, looks good.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Quentin. Okay, let's go to the Western Cape. Do any of our Western Cape operators on the line want to add anything about how they do field day or would like to do field day? No? Natal? Anybody in Natal want to make a comment? Okay, let's then see if there's anybody on Echolink or All-Star. I'll stop transmitting. This is Keith, Z6HI. Please give us your call sign and let us know if you've got any questions or would like to make any comment. The station is now listening. Okay, no comments coming in from the repeater network. So Quentin, it looks like that's it. If there's no comments, let me just check the room around me here. Anybody got any questions or comments? No?
Very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. So Quentin, I see that Roy is saying his mic appears to be not set up. Our standard MC4 connectors between panels and charge controllers. So there's a question for you, Quentin. He's asking for our standard MC4 connectors between the panels and the charge controllers. That's Roy, Z6XN.
You know, I have no idea, but we can look at some pictures and see if there's anything you can see. I know essentially nothing about solar power. So I can show you this one. And then maybe this one is more interesting. Is this the MC4? I'm not sure.
That's the standard connector that comes on on a larger solar panel. It
Okay.
comes with, well, certainly here with a plastic connector, which is keyed, and it's an MC4 connector, male, female keys on the solar panels, which they all just interconnect together. So no, those are not them at the moment, Quentin.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Then I'm afraid I don't know, but I can try to find out for you.
That's from Roy. Thank you. And then Piet says, thank you very much. He's got to get his young crowd to bed. Thank you for joining us, Piet. Appreciate it. And thank you for posting the presentation slides, Quentin, into the chat as well. So if anybody would like to get the presentation slides, we will then have those for distribution. I'd then just like to say a very, very big thank you to Quentin for putting this presentation material together for us, for taking the time out of his day to do this presentation for us. So really, Quentin, kudos and thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you for having me.
Remind everybody before we close that we have a presentation on the last Wednesday of every month. And the next presentation is also coming through from an international colleague, and it'll be covering D-expeditions. So please do watch out for that one in May. And finally, thank you to all that joined us this evening, whether you are on the frequency net, or the repeater network, or on Zoom. Quentin, at this time, we'd like to let you get back to your own life and say thank you very much once again for the presentation.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Quentin. Much appreciated.
Thank you to all. This is ZS6STN, now closing down the repeater network. And thank you to all on frequency for joining us. Hope to see you at the end of May, and we'll go through D-expeditions. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, Brendan. Enjoy the North Coast.
Thank you. Cheers.